How's it going, everybody? In an effort to improve my reading skills, I have chosen to read out of the Bible because it's old literature. There's names I'm not familiar with. There's towns and cities I'm not familiar with, and it has it doesn't flow. The Bible doesn't always flow. It has a way of breaking up what I'm saying, my cadence. There you go. So we're going to continue with the book of Genesis. This is, I think, the third part of this little series. Don't forget to subscribe on the YouTube channel. I'll stop asking when we hit YouTube's metric. So this is the book of Genesis, chapter 10. The genealogy of the children of Noah, by whom the world was peopled after the flood. Verse 1. These are the generations of the sons of Noah, Sem, Cham, and Japheth. And unto them sons were born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Thubal, and Mosach, and Thyras. And the sons of Gomer, Asenez, and Riphath, and Thogorma. And the sons of Javan, Elisa, and Tharsis, Sethim, and Dodanim. By these were divided the islands of the Gentiles in their lands, every one according to his tongue, and their families in their nations. And the sons of Cham, Chus, and Mesram, and Phuth, and Chanaan. And the sons of Chus, Saba, and Havilah, and Sabbatha, and Regma, and Sabbatacha. The sons of Regma, Saba, and Dadan. Now Chus begot Nimrod. He began to be mighty on the earth, and he was a stout hunter before the Lord. Hence came a proverb, even as Nimrod the stout hunter before the Lord, and the beginning of his kingdom was Babylon, and Arak, and Akkad, and Shalan, in the island of Sennar. Out of that land came forth Assur, and built Nineve, and the streets of the city, and Chel, risen also between Nineve and Chel. This is the great city. And Mesraim begot Ludim, and Anamim, and Labim, Nephthim, and Phatrasim, and Chasluim, of whom came forth the Philistines, and the Capthorim. And Chanaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, the Hethite, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Gergesite, the Hivite, and the Arakite, the Sinite, and the Aradean, the Samarite, and the Hamathite. And afterwards the families of the Canaanites were spread abroad. And the limits of Chanaan were from Sidon, as one comes to Gerara, even to Gaza, until thou enter Sodom and Gomorrah, and Adamah, and Seboim, even to Lessa. These are the children of Cham, in their kindreds and tongues, and generations and lands and nations. Of Sem also, the father of all the children of Heber, the elder brother of Japheth, sons were born. The sons of Sem, Elam, and Assur, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram, Us, and Hol, and Gether, and Mes. But Arphaxad begot Sel, of whom was born Heber. And to Heber were born two sons. The name of the one was Phaleg, because in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name Jektan, which Jektan begot Elmodad, and Saliph, and Azarmoth, Jer, and Aduram, and Uzal, and Dekla, and Ebal, and Abimael, Saba, and Ophir, and Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Jektan, and their dwelling was from Mesa, as we go on as far as Sephar, a mountain in the east. These are the children of Sem according to their kindreds and tongues, and countries in their nations. These are the families of Noah, according to their peoples and nations. By these were the nations divided on the earth after the flood. Chapter 11. The Tower of Babel, the confusion of tongues, the genealogy of Sem down to Abram. Verse 1. And the earth was of one tongue, and of the same speech. And when they removed from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and dwelt in it. And each one said to his neighbor, Come, let us make brick, and bake them with fire. And they had brick instead of stones, and slime instead of mortar. And they said, Come, let us make a city and a tower, the top whereof may reach to heaven. And let us make our name famous before we be scattered abroad into all lands. And the Lord came down to the city and the tower, which the children of Adam were building. And he said, Behold, it is one people, and all have one tongue, and they have begun to do this. Neither will they leave off from their designs till they accomplish them indeed. Come ye, therefore, let us go down, and there confound their tongue, that they may not understand one another's speech. And so the Lord scattered them from that place into all lands, and they ceased to build the city, and therefore the name thereof was called Babel, because their language of the whole earth was confounded. And from thence the Lord scattered them abroad upon the face of all countries. These are the generations of Sem. Sem was 100 years old when he begot Arphaxad, 2 years after the flood. And Sem lived after he begot Arphaxad 500 years, and begot sons and daughters. And Arphaxad lived 35 years, and begot Sel. And Arphaxad lived after he begot Sel 303 years, and begot sons and daughters. Sel also lived 30 years, and begot Heber. And Sel lived after he begot Heber 403 years, and begot sons and daughters. And Heber lived 34 years, and begot Phaleg. And Heber lived after he begot Phaleg 430 years, and begot sons and daughters. Phaleg also lived 30 years, and begot Reu. And Phaleg lived after he begot Reu 209 years, and begot sons and daughters. And Reu lived 32 years, and begot Sarug. And Reu lived after he begot Sarug 207 years, and begot sons and daughters. And Sarug lived 30 years, and begot Nachor. And Sarug lived after he begot Nachor 200 years, and begot sons and daughters. And Nachor lived 29 years, and begot Ther. And Nachor lived after he begot Ther 119 years, and begot sons and daughters. And Ther lived 70 years, and begot Abram and Nachor and Aaron. And these are the generations of Ther. Ther begot Abram, Nachor, and Aaron. And Aaron begot Lot. And Aaron died before Ther his father, in the land of his nativity in Ur of the Chaldees. And Abram and Nachor married wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nachor's wife Milcah, the daughter of Aaron, father of Milcah, and the father of Jester. And Sarai was barren, and had no children. And Ther took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Aaron, his son's son, and Sarah his daughter-in-law, the wife of Abram his son, and brought them out of Ur of the Chaldees, to go into the land of Canaan. And they came as far as Haran, and dwelt there. And the days of Ther were 205 years, and he died in Haran. Chapter 12. The call of Abram, and the promise made to him. He sojourneth in Canaan, and they by occasion of a famine goeth down to Egypt. And the Lord said to Abram, Go forth out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and out of thy father's house, and come into the land which I shall shew thee. And I will make of thee a great nation. I will bless thee, and magnify thy name, and thou shalt be blessed. I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curse thee. And in thee shall all the kindred of the earth be blessed. So Abram went out as the Lord had commanded him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he went forth from Haran. And he took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all the substance which they had gathered, and the souls which they had gotten in Haran. And they went out to go into the land of Canaan. And when they were come into it, Abram passed through the country into the place of Sichem, as far as the noble vale. Now the Canaanite was at that time in the land, and the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, To thy seed will I give this land. And he built there an altar to the Lord, who had appeared to him. And passing on from thence to a mountain that was on the east side of Bethel, he there pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west and Hai on the east. He built there also an altar to the Lord, and called upon his name. And Abram went forward, going and proceeding on to the south. And there came a famine in the country, and Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was very grievous in the land. And when he was near to enter Egypt, he said to Sarah his wife, I know that thou art a beautiful woman, and that when the Egyptians shall see thee, they will say, She is his wife, and they will kill me and keep thee. Say therefore, I pray thee, that thou art my sister, that I may be well used for thee, and that my soul may live for thy sake. And when Abram was come into Egypt, the Egyptians saw the woman that she was very beautiful. And the princess told Pharaoh, and praised her before him. And the woman was taken into the house of Pharaoh. And they used Abram well for her sake. And he had sheep and oxen, and he asses, and men servants and maid servants, and she asses and camels. But the Lord scourged Pharaoh and his house with the most grievous stripes for Sarah, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said to him, What is that thou hast done to me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? For what cause didst thou say, She was thy sister, that I might take her to my wife? Now, therefore, there is thy wife. Take her, and go thy way. And Pharaoh gave his men orders concerning Abram, and they led him away, and his wife, and all that he had. Chapter 13. Abram and Lot part from each other. God's promise to Abram. Verse 1. And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. And he was very rich in possession of gold and silver. And he returned by the way that he came, from the south to Bethel, to the place where before he had pitched his tent between Bethel and Hai, in the place of the altar which he had made before. And there he called upon the name of the Lord. But Lot also was with Abram, had flocks of sheep, and herds of beasts and tents. Neither was the land able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for the substance was great, and they could not dwell together. Whereupon also these arose a strife between the herdsmen of Abram and of Lot. And at that time the Canaanite and the Pharisite dwelled in that country. Abram therefore said to Lot, Let there be no quarrel, I beseech thee, between me and thee, and between my herdsmen and thy herdsmen, for we are brethren. Behold, the whole land is before thee. Depart from me, I pray thee. If thou wilt go to the left hand, I will take the right. If thou choose the right hand, I will pass to the left. And Lot, lifting up his eyes, saw all the country about the Jordan, which was watered throughout, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, as the paradise of the Lord, and like Egypt, as one comes to Segor. And Lot chose to himself the country about the Jordan, and he departed from the east, and they were separated one brother from the other. Abram dwelt in the land of Chanaan, and Lot abode in the towns that were about the Jordan, and dwelt in Sodom. And the men of Sodom were very wicked and sinners before the face of the Lord, beyond measure. And the Lord said to Abram, after Lot was separated from him, Lift up thy eyes, and look from the place wherein thou now art, to the north and to the south, to the east and to the west, all the land which thou seest, I will give to thee and to thy seed forever, and I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth. If any man be able to number the dust of the earth, he shall be able to number thy seed also. Arise and walk through the land in the length, and in the breadth thereof, for I will give it to thee. So Abram, removing his tent, came and dwelt by the vale of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and he built there an altar to the Lord. Chapter 14. The expedition of the 4 kings, the victory of Abram. He is blessed by Melchizedek. Verse 1. And it came to pass at that time that Amraphel, king of Sennar, and Arioch, king of Pontus, and Chedorlaomer, king of Elamites, and Thadal, king of nations, made war against Bara, king of Sodom, and against Bersa, king of Gomorrah, and against Senab, king of Adama, and against Semaber, king of Seboim, and against the king of Bala, which is Segor. All these came together into the woodland vale, which now is the Salt Sea, for they had served Chedorlaomer 12 years, and in the 13th year they revolted from him. And in the 14th year came Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, and they smote the Raphaim in Astrothacarnium, and the Zeusium with them, and the Emim in Save of Kerethium, and the Chorians in the mountains of Seir, even to the plains of Pharan, which is in the wilderness. And they returned, and came to the fountain of Mishpat, the same is Cades, and they smote all the country of the Amathites, and the Amorian that dwelt in Esasanthamar, and the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Adama, and the king of Seboim, and the king of Bala, which is Segor, went out, and they set themselves against them in battle array in the woodland vale, to wit, against Chedorlaomer, king of the Elamites, and Thadal, king of nations, and Amraphel, king of Sennar, and Arioch, king of Pontus, 4 kings against 5. Now the woodland vale had many pits of slime, and the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah turned their backs and were overthrown there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the substance of the Sodomites and the Gomorrites, and all their victuals, and went their way. And Lot also, the son of Abram's brother, who dwelt in Sodom, and his substance. And behold, one that had escaped told Abram the Hebrew, who dwelt in the vale of Mamre, that Amorite, the brother of Eshcol, and the brother of Aner, for these had made league with Abram, which when Abram had heard, to wit, that his brother Lot was taken, he numbered of the servants born in his house 318, well appointed, and pursued them to Dan. And dividing his company, he rushed upon them in the night, and defeated them, and pursued them as far as Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the substance, and Lot his brother, with his substance, the women also, and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him, after he returned from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him in the vale of Save, which is the king's vale. But Melchizedek, the king of Salem bring forth bread and wine, for he was the priest of the Most High God, blessed him, and said, Blessed be Abram by the Most High God, who created heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High God, by whose protection the enemies are in thy hands. And he gave him the tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the persons, and the rest take to thyself. And he answered him, I lift up my hand to the Lord God the Most High, the possessor of heaven and earth, that from thy very woof thread unto the shoe latchet I will not take of any things that are thine, lest thou say, I have enriched Abram, except such things as the young men have eaten, and the shares of the men that came with me, Anar, Eskel, and Mamre, these shall take their shares. Okay, so that was chapters 10 through 14. I do want to say a few things. First, I think you understand what I mean now by it's really good practice with names and places. I'm sure I didn't nail half of those. And Abram's wife, Sarah, isn't spelt Sarah, like in the English language, so I think I was saying that wrong at first. I'm pretty sure we're going to hear some more from Nimrod, right? Because that's now used as like a name, like as an insult. So I'm sure we're going to hear more from Nimrod. I didn't know that was in the Bible. And then I noticed that the Bible has a lot of genealogy. And the reason why the Bible has a lot of genealogy, because back then when they were writing literature, they had no words for nephew, niece, aunt, uncle, which is why Lot, like, they refer to Lot as a son, but they also mention that he's not actually Abram's son, it's his brother's son. So they're actually uncle and nephew. That's the relationship. It's just one of those things about the Bible that the reason why they include such a lengthy genealogy is so you can follow the family thread, because there was no words for nephew, niece, aunt, uncle, cousin. It was all just brother and sister in the Bible. So that actually, I happen to know that. So leave your comments in the YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, I need subscribers. I haven't hit that metric yet. And you guys all have a good day. Bye-bye.